Chrissy Lampkin just went from love and hip-hop royalty to a federal inmate with no baby, no man, and no storyline left to sell. And baby, the tea? Scorching. Fake sonograms, producer bribes, and VH1 cover-ups are so messy, even Mona Scott Young's. Wigs are testifying. Buckle up, this ain't reality TV anymore. This is a criminal investigation. The courtroom was packed, the air thick with scandal and sweat. And baby, you could feel the downfall coming before the judge even stepped in. Chrissy Lampkin walked in like she still believed she had control over the narrative, like she still thought reality TV fame could protect her from a federal investigation. But this wasn't Mona Scott's soundstage. This was court, and the odd lies were no longer part of a script. She clutched that subpoena with shaking hands, flanked by a lawyer who looked like he'd already drafted her plea deal in the car. Then the gasps hit, because who walked in behind her? Yandy Smith Harris, witness subpoena in hand, heels echoing down the marble floor like it was her own personal runway of revenge. The media lost its collective mind. Twitter lit up in real time. One blogger even whispered, "This is giving the series finale energy." And he wasn't wrong. Because what Yandy dropped next wasn't just a bomb. It was a cultural earthquake. Yandy took the stand, raised her right hand, and burned every bridge left. "Yes," she said, eyes cold, voice steady. "I knew Chrissy was lying. Yes, Morgan helped her plan the fake pregnancy. Yes, Cameron knew about it too. And yes, VH1 paid her a bonus to keep the storyline going." The courtroom erupted. Even the judge leaned back like he needed to process what the hell he was hearing. This wasn't just reality TV gone rogue. This was calculated manipulation, for profit, for relevance, for survival. Yandy kept going. "I warned them this would backfire. I told producers exploiting motherhood for ratings was dangerous. But they didn't care. They said, and I quote, 'If the ratings go up, we win.' And you want to know the worst part? They told Chrissy to fake a miscarriage if the lie got exposed. Baby, this wasn't just dirty, it was diabolical. And that's when Chrissy cracked. On the stand, in front of cameras, the same ones that once made her famous, she fell apart. Tears streamed, voices trembling. "I didn't want to do it," she choked. "But I had nothing left. No brand deals, no storyline. No gym. I thought if I gave them something explosive enough, I'd matter again." But it was too late. Because the damage wasn't just done, it was documented. The judge didn't hesitate. He ordered a full-scale investigation into VH1's production practices, and just like that, the entire empire began to crumble. Emergency producer suspensions. Morgan B. escorted out by federal investigators. VH1 issuing a sloppy statement blaming individual choices, while Twitter screamed, "Cancel them all." And in the chaos, Chrissy's legal situation got worse. Much worse. The charges were upgraded. Felony fraud, conspiracy to commit emotional abuse, willful misrepresentation for financial gain. Chrissy Lampkin, once a cultural icon, was now a criminal defendant. As she was escorted out, not to holding, but to transfer, her final words barely whispered, "Tell Jim. I didn't mean for it to go this far." But Jim? Oh, Jim wasn't there. Sources say he was already in Paris, locked in with indie producers for a tell-all docuseries titled The Last Truth. Topic? The real story behind Dipset, Chrissy, Cameron, and the silent destruction of a dynasty. Because while Chrissy was faking pregnancies, Jim was finally preparing to tell the truth. And baby, it's about time. The streets turned on Chrissy fast. What once was blind loyalty became brutal backlash. Protesters lined the courthouse steps, not fans, but women. Real women, holding signs that read, "Pregnancy is not a PR stunt," and "Lock her up." Even the brands that once sponsored her ghosted overnight. Ads pulled, book deal canceled. The book? Forever Yours? Maybe. The Chrissy Chronicles. a supposed memoir on love, loyalty, and survival. The publishing house released a statement within hours of her arrest. "We do not support fraudulent narratives that harm public trust." Oop. Not a retraction, a complete exorcism. And then came the prosecution's final card. A wire transfer from Cameron's business account to a consulting firm in the Caribbean marked narrative development fee. Amount? $60,000. Date? 2 weeks before Chrissy announced her fake pregnancy online. The court erupted. Bloggers were shaking. Courtroom security even looked stunned. Cameron was conveniently traveling, but insiders say he's been quietly lawyering up since the first footage leaked. And speaking of leaks, that encrypted server that dropped the Chrissy hotel clip, yeah, it has more, much more, including messages from Cam to Erica Mena bragging about the fake pregnancy plot. If that gets out, we're not talking about one scandal. We're talking multi-show, multi-star, network-level implosion. VH1 might not survive it, but that wasn't even the most damning evidence. Because next up on the witness list, Trina Bell, Chrissy's former best friend turned hairstylist in Atlanta. She was subpoenaed after old emails between her and Chrissy were found deep in VH1's archived production server. Emails that read like a manual for manipulation. "Jimmy doesn't think right when he is emotional," Chrissy wrote. "If I hit him with the pregnancy plus that old Cam drama, he'll snap. He'll marry me out of guilt." And Trina? She replied, "Even if it's fake, he won't know till it's too late." Chrissy's response? "By then, I'll have my season, my ring, and my legacy." The courtroom was stunned. Even VH1 staffers looked like they wanted to quit mid-hearing. That's when the judge snapped. Literally slammed the gavel and called for a federal ethics probe into VH1's production unit. His words? "This court believes what we're witnessing is not just personal deception, but systemic exploitation." Producers scrambled. VH1 legal reps walked out. Morgan B. was arrested on the spot for unlawful narrative tampering. Chrissy? She didn't speak. Didn't blink. Just sat there, absorbing the weight of every lie, every lens, every false tear. When the ruling dropped, it wasn't just devastating, it was legendary. Chrissy Lampkin to be remanded without bail pending felony charges of emotional fraud, commercial deception, narrative manipulation, and obstruction of contractual ethics. Max sentence? 8 years. And outside, Mama Jones stood on the courthouse steps, mic in hand, camera in face, and said what the culture had always suspected. "I tried to tell him. I tried to tell all y'all. She never loved Jim. She loved the lights." Boom. The mic drop that hit harder than anything in court. Meanwhile, Jim still hasn't returned to the U.S. Sources say he's now in South Africa working on a documentary tentatively titled The Engagement That Never Ended, an expose on Dipset's fall, Cam's betrayal, Chrissy's manipulation, and the cost of loving a woman who played the game better than the producers. But make no mistake, this wasn't reality TV anymore. This was a RICO-worthy reality takedown. And Chrissy? She wasn't acting. She was producing her own downfall. And for once, the cameras weren't rolling for a finale. They were rolling for reckoning. As Chrissy sat behind bars in county lockup, with her wig half shifted and her publicist nowhere to be found, the outside world moved on, fast and without mercy. Social media tore her to pieces. Hashtags like fake pregnancy queen and lockup Lampkin trended for hours, while one savage TikTok even remixed her old engagement scene with jail bars clanking in the background. And just when it seemed like things couldn't get any messier, guess who emerged from the shadows? None other than Cameron himself. Not with a denial, not with a prayer, but with a full-on Instagram live. From Turks and Caicos, sipping out a coconut, talking about these reality chicks needing better scripts. "Yes, baby." He laughed. He winked. He even said, "I ain't even mad at Chrissy. I'm mad she got caught. And that was the final slap. Because if you thought Cam was going to protect his old Dipset family, think again. He doubled down, claimed he gave Chrissy the idea as a joke, and she ran with it like it was gospel. The man treated a federal scandal like a promo tour, dropping merch that read "Fake Baby Real Ratings" within hours of his live. Meanwhile, the feds were watching. Court filings revealed that Chrissy's scheme, backed by Cam and supported by VH1 producers, had generated over $1.3 million in ad revenue for the network in just 3 months. That's not drama. That's fraudulent enrichment. And the IRS? Oh, honey, they do not like being left out. Enter the forensic accountant. You know it's bad when they show up. She presented evidence that Chrissy received maternity stipends from the production company, paid under a hush-hush clause called narrative stabilization bonuses. Translation? They paid her to maintain the lie. It was in writing. And it was damning. Even Chrissy's own defense attorney nearly dropped his pen when the court read aloud, her contract, talent to refrain from disclosing falsified pregnancy status on or off camera unless pre-approved by storyline executive. Baby, that wasn't a contract. That was a crime scene. But here's where it gets wild. Because Chrissy's legal team scrambled to file a last-minute motion blaming emotional distress, the prosecution dropped one more bomb, a recorded voicemail from none other than Erica Mena, accidentally, left on Yandy's old burner phone, recovered during a device sweep. The message? Erica giggling, saying, "Sis, if this works, you next. I'm telling you, fake a scare or a baby, and Mona'll write you a 6-figure arc. Just cry, do a hospital scene, and boom, the internet forgets everything." And that's when the courtroom flatlined. Because this wasn't just about Chrissy anymore. This was about every woman who ever cried into a VH1 confessional booth and called it reality. Yandy, already on the warpath, stood up and said, "I've had enough. I stayed quiet too long." She dropped a thumb drive on the judge's bench like she was in a Shonda Rhimes finale. On it? Unreleased behind-the-scenes footage, with timestamps, showing Chrissy being coached by Morgan B. and Cam. In one clip, Cam literally says, "Look in the mirror, say you're scared, then grab your stomach. We'll cut in the heartbeat sound later." And Chrissy? She laughs, says, "Damn, I deserve an Emmy." The judge's face turned white. The bailiff whispered, "This just went federal. And Mona Scott? She hasn't posted in days." Her legal team issued a vague statement about creative liberties in unscripted entertainment, but insiders say she's now under grand jury review. And while VH1 tried to spin it with PR lines, like, "We are reviewing all allegations seriously," viewers weren't buying it. Ratings tanked overnight, sponsors dropped out, and the cherry on this fraudulent sundae? A whistleblower from inside the editing team came forward. She testified anonymously that Chrissy's pregnancy test segment wasn't just fake. It was filmed 3 times with 3 different test brands, and producers chose the one with the clearest line. They literally manufactured the moment America cried over. And the reaction that's happened, viewers started demanding refunds for show subscriptions. Class action lawsuit was filed within 24 hours, alleging emotional manipulation and deceptive entertainment practices. VH1's lawyers? Silent. The network? Dead quiet. Even the official Instagram page went private. You know it's bad when a brand ghosts itself. Meanwhile, Jim Jones finally broke his silence, not with words, but with footage. He uploaded a never-before-seen clip from his phone showing Chrissy rehearsing her baby reveal in a bathroom mirror, holding an empty pregnancy box and saying, "I gotta cry sooner, right?" The video? Timestamped a week before the episode aired. Jim captioned it, "I wanted to believe, but this is what she gave me." The internet collapsed. Comments ranged from "protect Jim at all costs" to "throw the whole franchise away." And Cameron? Still sipping coconuts, still tweeting shade like he's untouchable. But insiders say subpoenas are coming for him next, And that 60K narrative development wire, it's now under federal tax review. This is no longer reality TV. This is organized deception for profit. And the feds don't play cute, even. Mama Jones came back, booked and busy. She landed an interview with Gayle King, where she said, dead serious, "I never trusted that girl. She used my son like a checkbook with a weave." The quote went viral. Memes exploded, but it was her final statement that chilled the room. "My son almost married a storyline. Thank God he dodged that script." Whew. And while the court chaos continued, VH1 scrambled behind the scenes. Quiet layoffs began. Morgan B. was placed on indefinite leave. Unnamed producers began leaking emails to avoid implication. And as the dominoes fell, Chrissy finally cracked behind bars. A leaked audio clip from her holding cell, recorded by an inmate on an old burner, captured her breakdown. "I didn't want to lie, but they made it so easy. They told me if I cried enough, if I wore the right dress, I'd be Chrissy again." She sobbed. "I just wanted to matter. I didn't want to disappear." But baby, she didn't disappear. She detonated. The judge is now calling for a full federal audit of VH1's reality programming from 2016 to 2024. All pregnancy-related storylines are under review. All cast bonuses. All hush contracts. Even Yandy's old seasons are getting pulled apart for inconsistencies. This is turning into the biggest entertainment ethics scandal since Janet Jackson's Super Bowl nipple, and there's no wardrobe malfunction to blame here. Just greed, desperation, and a whole lot of bold-faced lying. And while Chrissy's next court date looms, her future looks bleak. No plea deal has been offered. Prosecutors say her lack of remorse and level of manipulation make her an ongoing threat to the ethical fabric of televised media. Translation? They're trying to make an example out of her. And if found guilty on all counts, she could face up to 8 years in federal prison, asset forfeiture, and a permanent industry blacklist. But the real loss? Her credibility, her legacy. The woman who once commanded scenes with just a look is now a cultural cautionary tale, stripped of her ring, her story, and her empire. And the streets? They've moved on. New drama, new tea. But Chrissy, she's stuck, frozen in time, behind. Bars, in a jumpsuit that doesn't match her Louboutins. And this time, there's no reunion special. No edit to save her. No Mona to spin the narrative. Just cold, hard truth. And baby, truth doesn't come with a glam team. The final gavel hadn't even dropped yet, but make no mistake,